Hi, You're listening to Ba. I'm Penny.
I'm Akira.
And I'm Janet.
Welcome to episode 3, where we discuss gender. Now, this is the third try of recording, right, girls?
Yes. That time lucky, as they say.
We found it really difficult with this topic. Originally, it was called Man versus Women, and it got to the point where we were going to do like a boxing round, and I was going to be in one corner and Janet was going to be the other corner, and she's like, call me tu. And she was going to champion men, and Penny was going to have a saucepan with a wooden spoon.
I was.
Yeah.
And I was gonna ding the gong.
While we were researching, we just found it so difficult to continue on with this topic the way that it was. So we've decided to take a whole different new approach now, and we hope that you enjoy what we've got to present. So with me, I found that it really didn't sit well with me in terms of discussing this as a battle of the genders, because I felt that we shouldn't be fighting against one another. And it was all well and good for us to recount gender inequality in terms of being a woman in my experiences. But I also found that the gender roles are changing so quickly for us that all that we could recount was our experiences that was back, 20 years, and things have changed so much. And Janet, I know that when, you're the one that suggested that, should we go ahead with this because you were the boy, so you did your research.
Akira, I just want to point out I was the man. I was totally going to represent the men so well. I was even going to, just to psych myself up, have like boxing gloves on so that I could really just like punch Akira out of the boxing ring. But yeah, as I was kind of trying to put myself in the mindset of a man, I would have just really failed you guys, because men have a different way of thinking. Your biology's different, and I can only go off my conversation with my beautiful husband, who just had such strong views, which I didn't even come up with. I was sitting there like, oh, that's a good point. I'll fight, I'll cheer on that one. But it just wouldn't have been the same, because I wouldn't have done men justice.
And then while we were talking about this, it then occurred to us that there was another gender category which I don't think that the Hmong community even talks about. And so Penny's been able to do some research for us, and so that's basically what we've kind of come together today. So that leads us to what we ended up finding on our journey. It came about because I was talking to a friend of mine, and I was like, okay, round 1 is roles, like statuses and all that sort of stuff. So that's round 1 between men and women. Round 2 is responsibilities when you become an adult. And I was like, so what should I do with round 3? And he said to me, well, what about the non-binary? And I was like, the what? And I was like, non-binary, like the LGBTQ community. And it dawned on me that, yeah, they exist.
They do. They do exist. Yeah. And, that's definitely a topic title that's barely even raised within the community.
Yeah, it's so taboo. It brings about such strong emotions. And for me, when I spoke about it with my friend, I spent the whole day very emotional, wanting to cry. Only because he gave me a very small insight into what they have to go through. As like a Psi gender, I can't even imagine. What it's like to, have to watch my back every single day.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Most definitely. And not being who you are, really.
That's right.
Hiding your identity for, decades until you build up the strength to finally come out and say, you know what, this is who I'm going to be. And, with the topic of the LGBTQ community. We do have a minority group here in Australia, and you know, I did a bit of research, and I know that there is, you know, a minority group in America as well, which is probably a bit more out there. When I did my research, there were a lot of articles about non-binary, transgender, bisexual, gay, lesbian in America. And I found that a lot of Hmong people did come out and express how they felt. But during my research, I did have the privilege to speak to a few of our Hmong LGBTQ members, and I did have the privilege to speak to a friend of mine in America as well who is bisexual. And the stories that were told to me with all these different individuals were so heartfelt. You know, guys, like with all three of their stories, or sorry, four of their stories, I kind of combined all their four stories and put it into a paragraph, and it reads a bit like this. I did not wake up one day and decide I wanted to be like this. Maybe due to unforeseeable circumstances, or maybe I was just born like this. A male soul in a female's physical body. A female soul in a male's physical body. I knew from a young age I was different. I didn't know what was different within me, but I knew the way I saw myself in the mirror. I knew the way I saw the opposite sex. It was different from me. Strung up with confusion, with so many questions, but who would I turn to? My parents, my siblings, extended family, the community? Growing up, I already know how the Hmong community is. I felt really alone. I was so scared. It was one of the hardest times of my life. Having to hide the real me, my real identity, it was so hard. Knowing that it was looked down upon, knowing that I couldn't reach out to anyone, not even my family. The community will look down upon my parents and my family. It was one of the most difficult times in my life. Knowing that people will talk about me when I walk past them, knowing that people will talk about me maliciously with their words, it really hurt me. I suppressed my feelings with drugs, alcohol, depression kicked in, suicidal thoughts emerged, questioning myself, what is the point of living or planning a future? I know I'll be alone, there is no point, no support, feeling alone, faced with many challenges, some harder than others. I wanted to fit in and be normal, even though it didn't feel right within me. But having to be the real me, I knew it wasn't going to be accepted. Coming out to the world, meaning just loving who I am and who I want to be, it took so much weight off my shoulders when finally I came out and expressed to the community and the world that I didn't like the opposite sex and I liked the same sex. Having some support from family and friends definitely makes the journey a lot easier. But most of all, as long as you are true to yourself and you are who you are and you ignite your soul with love, then there is always possibilities and the light is always there at the end of the tunnel. Having to interview and be able to connect with these amazing individuals who have suppressed so much hurt and hatred and just the topic itself, it was really challenging for them. And all of them had beautiful, inspiring stories that hopefully in the future we can link it onto our websites from each of them, because their stories are incredible, and just us talking about it here on this podcast just does not do justice.
No, and this is a first for the Hmong community in Australia, for something like this to be talked about.
Most definitely. And I remember one of the members who I interviewed, she said to me, thank you, but thank you for being a voice for us here in Australia. It is so good to be able to talk to you guys and express ourselves, and not just to our family, because we can't express ourselves in any other way. So this person really thanked Ba for being a bridge and being able to be the voice for them here in Australia. And you know, that's what Ba is about, is being a voice for the minority group as well, and really taboo topics that are not spoken about in the community.
This is a very short episode. And because it was so hard, we actually collaborated with a few people. And so we've brought on Angela Bonus, and Janet will tell you a little bit more about her. We brought her on to write our inspiration for us today.
One of our very own Hmong women here in Australia, who is, so she's married to a bonus man. That sounds like a bonus. She's Hmong Lee, lives in Melbourne. She's a business owner by day, an aspiring artist by night. She's a writer, she's a painter, and a spiritual seeker. And if you're interested with her work, you can find her on Instagram, angela.bonus. But yeah, she has some amazing literature pieces that she has, which, you have to read a few times to actually understand it because it's so deep. So highly encourage you guys to follow her. Thank you, Angela.
So each of us will read out a paragraph for her inspiration, and the very last, the closing paragraph, will be read by one of our Hmong LGBTQ members. So I hope you enjoy.
Gender equality is and will always be a topic that will divide or unite. Wherever you stand with your views, it is undeniable that the growth of humanity as a whole requires both genders equally. These roles are vital because innately men and women support and challenge each other. Where men hold strength, women may not, and where women hold strength, men may not. It is essential that both sexes complement each other's shortfalls and understand that we are both an important part of building a sustainable society.
In generations before us, family was key to what kept Hmong society strong and moving forward. Community was not merely a basis of foundation, strength in numbers was crucial for survival. All cultures partook in this game of survival, and definitive roles between man and woman emerged. As we move towards the new millennium, we find we have undeniably outgrown the current model for the expected responsibilities of man and woman. Whilst the key to survival still requires a partnership between the genders, beliefs that define each role now need to be urgently upgraded in order to maximize the continued growth of our people.
We now no longer need the hunter-gatherer approach to survive. We live in an exciting time where survival can be as creative as we allow it to be. We are blessed to be the generation that do not have to assume traditional gender roles, because the chances of survival are now in our favour. Therefore, we have to align ourselves with a creative approach to encourage each other to find maximum growth of our individual selves, and consequently to understand and embody this will preserve our culture. If we move against time and refuse to keep up, we fail Mother Nature's basic living instincts. Survival of the fittest. Our culture will inevitably be rejected by our own people and therefore will be slowly lost in time.
As we now recognize that we can survive without the strict definitions of each gender role that kept our people strong in the past, it is up to each and every one of us to choose a role that best helps us move forward as the next generation of Hmong people. Humankind are social beings. We still need family and community, but now, how lucky are we to be alive in these times where traditional survival tactics are no longer and opportunities are exciting and stretch as far as the mind can imagine. We have lived the dark days. This should never be forgotten. We give love and gratitude to our ancestors for their strength to do what they needed to do in order for our people to survive. It is our responsibility now in this generation to show our appreciation and respect for those before us by thriving in all the opportunity available to us and move our people forward. How liberating for the LGBTQ community to be released from strict role expectations and be embraced and loved for who they are. How exciting for girls and women to be encouraged to find purpose outside of the known role of motherhood. How elevating for boys and men to feel like he, too, can be anything he wants without the pressures to solely carry on the family name. We as Hmong have survived. We as Hmong now need to encourage and support each other to thrive.
And lastly, guys, kusa ocho do ichong puyi niati shado. Jai jalo yo. Ocho no ne to kompe pa podcast no be ka episode be no. Kuva thiết share tia zon zi li yang te no mu be jong mong be yo zhe shi lu be yo chi hai tia o ne jong li no be chi nhận ne o ne ho jong li no be chi nhận ne be shi yo mong be ka chi zhe shi lu mong ka chi lu mong. And adding on to this concludes the BUD project. The BUD project was a pilot project that we all came together and shared our ideas and our opinions and then shared it with you guys, the world. I hope that you all continue to follow, love and support us in our future projects. Thank you.